Hare Krishna, Namaste, Chapter 17, which is entitled as Shraddha-traya Vibhava Yoga, the three types of faith. Sloka 10, Part 9. Yāta-yāmaṁ gata-rasaṁ pūti paryuṣitaṁ ca yat ucchiṣṭam api cāmedhyaṁ bhojanaṁ tāmasa-priyam. Food prepared more than 3 hours before being eaten. Food that is tasteless, decomposed and putrid, and food consisting of remnants and untouchable things is dear to those in the mode of darkness. In the previous couple of sessions, we've been seeing some questions that's related to prasadam. As we mentioned, they are not the only questions. There are many other questions as well. So it is better to consult and get advices from those who are practicing devotees. One might think the topic that we are discussing here doesn't seem to be related to the verse that we are in. The current verse speaks about people, those who are in mode of ignorance, their desired food. Then why do we speak about prasadam, which does not fall into tamoguna? Well, we have spoken enough on the rajoguna and tamoguna. Now it is important how to get out of rajoguna and tamoguna. That's only possible by honoring prasadam, not otherwise. Krishna is not just going to give the problems, he wants to give solutions. So similarly, following in the footsteps of the Supreme Gita-charya, we are not here simply to list out all the problems. Rather, one should also be able to provide the solution to get out of the problem. Therefore, it is important at this time, as we are ending these set of 3 slokas, to know how to become more sattvic, how to control mind and senses, how to develop bhakti. For all this, easiest way is to have Krishna prasadam. Now let's understand the glories of prasada mahatmyam. First of all, let's understand the meaning of prasada. As per Shabda Kalpadhruma, a Sanskrit dictionary, prasada has 3 features. Number 1, prasannatha. Number 2, swatyam. Number 3, nirmala. Prasannatha means very pleasant, satisfactory, content, happy. Swatyam, very healthy, both physically and mentally, by which one can treat both pains and pleasures equally and will be able to withstand any austerity. Nirmala, blemishless, it doesn't have any dosha, any faults. The one who takes prasadam gets these 3 things. They are completely satisfied, content, become joyful, they become healthy both mentally and physically, and they also become blemishless, free of dosha. These are the benefits of honoring prasadam. Prasadam means Lord's mercy. So Lord's mercy is not only in the food that we consume which is offered to the Lord, that is prasadam for sure, but there are other 2 aspects as well. Number 1, the glance of the Lord upon us is prasadam. His darshan to us itself a prasadam. And thirdly, the Lord's remnants, footstep, is prasadam. The third one is quite popular and well known, and the other 2 are not that famous to common people. But all these 3 are called prasadam. In fact, we can add one more, but this is seen as prasadam only by those who are great devotees. Any event that happens in our life, whether it is good or bad, the great souls consider it is the prasadam of the Lord. It's the mercy of the Lord. They don't see that otherwise, differently. Let's see the three different prasadam that we just mentioned earlier. The glance of the Lord, the darshan of the Lord, the remnants of the Lord. Glance of the Lord. There are many stories in the scriptures which illustrates this, how someone got the ultimate benefit by the glance of the Lord. Three are given as an best example. One is Shabari from Ramayana, Vidura from Bharatam, Mahabharatam, and the Rishi Patnis from Srimad Bhagavatam. They were all purified just by the glance of the Lord. Shabari, when the Lord came to visit her, she says that just by your sight alone, I have been blessed and purified just by your glance upon me. So when the Lord glances upon us, that is called prasada, His mercy. It is simply because of His glance the entire universe gets created. And the Lord creates His universe out of compassion to all of us, so we can get rid of our karma, develop bhakti, and attain Him. Number 2, His darshan itself prasadam. That is, seeing His beautiful form is prasadam. First, He seeing us is prasadam. Now we seeing Him, having darshan of Him is also prasadam. That means we have to let Him glance upon us and we take darshan of Him. Therefore, it is very important that one lives in a place where there are temples. Place where there are no temples should be rejected. We should be very fortunate to have temple in a place where we live. Not only having temple there, but one has to make a point to go on a regular basis to the temple and let the Lord glance upon us and we take darshan of the Lord. What happens when we take darshan of the Lord? Vidyate hridaya grantihi chityante sarva samshayaha kshiyante chasya karmani tasmin driste parevare. What it says is that the knot in the heart is pierced, all misgivings are cut to pieces, and the chain of fruitive actions, that is karma, all our karmas, are terminated when one sees the Supreme Lord. We should know that deities are not different from the Lord. If we take darshan of the Lord in that consciousness, if we allow the Lord to glance upon us in that consciousness, then vidyate hridaya grantihi chityante sarva samshayaha kshiyante chasya karmani. The hard knot that's there in our heart, the attachment, will be released. All our misgivings can be cut into pieces. There won't be any more confusion in our understandings. And more so ever, the karmas are terminated, finished. What else do we need? Here in the Sloka, the Lord has been referred as Paravare, Paravaran, Paravara. This name, Lord's name, is very significant, very important to know about Him. This one name can reveal the Supreme Lord mood. Para means superior, high, greater, or something on the top. Avara means inferior, lower, cheaper, and something below. That's the exact opposite meaning of para. Para avara, paravara. The Upanishad calls the Lord as Paravara, who is both para and avara. Well, para is easy to understand. The Lord is superior, higher, is in the top position, is greater. But how can the Lord be also inferior, lower, below, and cheaper? That cannot be possible. Well, let's see that with some examples. If there is a fruit which is hanging on top of the tree, which is unreachable, and there's another tree where the fruit is low hanging, which is easily reachable, that does not reduce the value of the fruit just because its position, just because it's on the top, it is greater. Because it is low hanging, it is cheaper. No, that's not the case. It has the same value. We pay flight tickets to go to different countries, different places. Just because the flight is on the sky doesn't make the flight to be cheaper when it lands on the ground. The flight is high on the sky, which makes it greater. That same flight is on the ground so that people can board. Just because it is on the ground doesn't make the flight to be cheaper. The third example is elephant. When the elephant is standing, it is great. But no one can climb upon the standing elephant. When the elephant kneels down, then it makes easier for someone to get on top of the elephant. But just because it's kneeling down doesn't mean that the elephant becomes cheaper or inferior, lower. Therefore, the shabda, the word avara, is not exactly the opposite of para in this context. Like that of dharma and adharma, they are completely opposite to each other. In this case, that's not how we have to take it. Like in the 4th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, 16th sloka, Krishna says, Kim karma, kim akarmeti, kavayo api atra mohitaha. Even the intelligent are bewildered in determining what is action and what is inaction. Here, karma has been mentioned and akarma has also been mentioned. In this context, akarma is not the opposite of karma, but what it means is that which is different from karma. Karma is karma yoga. That which is different from karma yoga is jnana yoga. That is akarma. This is one interpretation of this sloka. Let's consider that interpretation over here. Para means superior. Avara, exact opposite, is inferior, lower. But rather taking the opposite meaning of para, one should consider that which is different from para, not as that which is opposite to para. If we consider, then para means the Lord who is hard to reach. He is greater than anyone. It is hard to mingle with the Lord. He doesn't speak with anyone and everyone. He is inaccessible. Hard to get his darshan because he is somewhere in the spiritual world, Vaikuntha. To reach him, we need to have some qualification. He is greater than anyone, therefore it is not easy to go to him. With all these conditions, he is para, he is superior, he is great. There are many things in the world which are superior, which are great. For example, Meru mountain. It is said that it's filled with gold and diamonds and many valuable things, but no one has seen it. No one have access to it no one even knows where it is other than just by reading the scriptures. The president of the country, he is considered to be great, but no one can easily approach him. Even if he decides to meet with people, dine with people, the security guards will not let him do so easily, because for the safety purpose. So we can see in the world that those who are para cannot be apara. Apara really means accessibility and simplicity, which is different than the para. Para not having easy accessibility and not being simple. So we can see the Meru mountain is great, but it is not accessible, it is not simple. The president is great, but he is not accessible, he cannot be simple, even if he so desires. Whereas the opposite is also true. Avara, one who is accessible, one who is simple, cannot be para. For example, the stones and pebbles, they are very accessible. We can just pick them as we walk, but they are not great. When it comes to the Lord, He is both para and avara. He is superior, He is great, at the same time He is very simple. He is inaccessible, at the same time He is also accessible. He is very hard to reach, at the same time He is very easy to reach. He doesn't mingle with anyone and everyone, at the same time He mingles without any difference with anyone and everyone. It is very hard to get His glance upon us, at the same time it is very easy to get His glance upon us. It is not possible or easy to get His darshan, at the same time it is very easy to get His darshan. These two different qualities are only found in the Supreme Lord, not anywhere else. Well, let's see a contradicting example. Say I'm walking in a street or in a park. In my pathway, I see so many stones, pebbles, sticks, some used and thrown items. They all are accessible. I can pick any of these things anytime. It's very easy. But they are not great. But at the same time, as I continue walking, I see a $100 bill. Certainly, it is greater. It has value. And also it is accessible. I can easily pick that $100 bill. Therefore, how can we say it is only the Lord who is both para and avara? Even a $100 bill is para and avara, which is great, which has value, and it is also accessible. Well, yes, the $100 bill has its value, but it is not the ultimate value. It doesn't have the ultimate superiority. Why? Because greater than $100 is $1,000. Greater than $1,000 is $10,000. Greater than $10,000 is $100,000. Therefore, it keeps going. $100 is not ultimate para. It is not ultimately superior. There are other things which is greater than that $100. Compared to $100,000, $100 has less value. If we give options to a beggar, in one hand $100, in another hand $1,000, and ask him to pick just one out of these two options, we know what he's going to pick. Therefore, that tells us the truth. So one who is ultimately superior is para. That is only possible with Krishna. There cannot be anyone else who is superior than Krishna. Mattha paratram na anyat kinchit asti Dhananjaya. There is no truth superior to me. Well, what about the simplicity? Simple ones? Say, the pebble could be simple, but there are many other items which are simpler than the pebble. So pebble is not the ultimate simple item. When it comes to simplicity of the Lord, there is no anyone who can be more simpler than the Lord Himself. Now, how do we connect this both? We can understand the Lord's greatness as He is in the spiritual world, in Sri Vaikunta. He is majestic, He is unreachable. It is hard to get His darshan. His glance upon us is not that easy. When the same Lord descended into this world as Damodara, He is being tied by His own mother. What else can be more simpler than this? He lets His friend to play with Him. In the Kurukshetra battlefield, when the war was happening, Arjuna, if he wants to give direction to Krishna to turn left or right or straight or hold off any of this instruction, it is said he does through his toes. If he touches the Lord with his toes on the right side, the instruction is go right. If he touches on the left side, the Lord should take the chariot to the left side. If someone by mistake, without noticing, if their foot touches us, we open our third eye to burn that person. We don't let anyone chastise us. We won't tolerate it. Anyone blaming us. The Lord let anyone and everyone to speak whatever they would like to say about Him. Shishupal spoke so many bad things about Krishna. Krishna kindly tolerated it. King Satrajit offended Krishna. He said Krishna is a thief. He stole the Shamantaka jewel. Krishna tolerated it. So there are many stories from which we can learn the simplicity, accessibility of the Lord. As Lord Ramachandra, He was so very accessible to anyone and everyone as He was traveling in the forest. Therefore, Para and Avara only perfectly fits the Supreme Lord. No one can be greater than Him. No one can be simpler than Him. Therefore, we have to value His darshan. His darshan is simply out of His compassion towards His children, that is us. If He is not compassionate, He wouldn't have given a chance for us to have darshan of Him. We will only know the Lord in the scriptures. One great sage requests the Lord to come in front of him to give darshan. But the Lord, instead of appearing in front of him, He asked, "What qualification do you have, so I can give my darshan to you?" The great Arvar, he said, "I am a papi, I am a sinner, I have all bad qualities that you can't even imagine of. Is that good enough as a qualification? Well, I would never come in front of you. You are a sinner, you are a papi, therefore I am not going to come in front of you." And the Arvar says, "Well, I am fine with it, whatever you are saying, but please come in front of me and repeat whatever you said. That's the only request I have." Well, what difference does it make whether I say invisibly or visibly? The message is same. Then the Arvar said, "Yes, there's no difference, but still, this is the only request I have. My humble request is that you please appear in front of me and tell the same thing that you said, that I am a papi. That is enough for me." And the Lord agreed, and He appeared in front of Alvar, and he was going to open his lotus mouth to say Pa, but he couldn't complete it. Why? Because vidyate hriday grantihi chidyante sarva samsayaha shiyante chasya karmani tasmin driste paravare. One who gets the darshan of the Lord, all the misgivings are cut into pieces. The heart knot is pierced. The karmas are terminated. Knowing this, Alvar played a wise trick on the Lord. He used the God-given intelligence in a proper way to get the darshan of the Lord. Not that the Lord doesn't know the intention of Alvar, but still, the Lord enjoys such interaction with his devotees. Why the Lord was not able to call the Alvar as Papi? Because of the darshan. As soon as one gets the darshan of the Lord, he is no more Papi. All his sins are terminated. Then how can the Lord call him as Papi? So out of 3 prasadam, we have seen 2 prasadams in this session. That is, the glance of the Lord upon us is prasadam. The darshan of the Lord is the second prasadam. The third prasadam is the remnants of the Lord. We will learn about it in our next session. Namaste. Hare Krishna.